Welcome everyone to episode 8 of Barf City. I'm Eric.
I don't have a name. This is the first time I don't have a name. I guess I'm just Kevin today.
Wow, you're finally yourself for once?
I know, right?
Oh my God, call the presses. Kevin is finally being himself in a video.
I was trying to think. I usually always just wait and think of one at the top of my head, but I didn't have one. I was like, I can't think of a name.
Well, everyone, welcome to the new year 2024. Woo!
Wow, you sounded so sincere when you did that.
Woo!
Don't get too excited now.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get up here and do a jig.
No one would be able to see it.
That's the point. Who would want to see my ass do a jig?
Me.
I'm good.
Actually, that would be a little entertaining.
For a good start.
I just woke up like a couple hours ago. I've been out most of the day.
I've been up since almost 8 o'clock.
Well, I mean, I was up. I went to bed at a pretty decent time, and then I woke up like literally like 20 minutes after I fell asleep, and I was wide awake. And I could not, no matter what I tried, I could not go back to sleep after that. So I finally just gave up and got out of the bed and came in here, and I was like, well, maybe in a couple hours I'll go back to sleep. Well, 2 o'clock in the morning came, 3 o'clock in the morning came, 4 o'clock in the morning came, still wasn't sleeping. And then it was like, finally, when it hit like almost 8 o'clock in the morning, I finally started getting sleepy and I went to bed.
Dang.
Yeah. Like I said, my sleep schedule on the weekend makes absolutely no sense. So.
I mean, you make absolutely no sense.
No, I make sense. Just my sleep schedule don't make no sense.
So I hope everyone's New Year's starting off pretty good.
Nope, they're all horrible.
Oh, did you see, kid? We got 11 views on 2 of our podcast episodes on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that. Which I thought was kind of random because it's like then some of the other videos had like none, and then
well, the videos that had like none were the newer ones.
Yeah, well, I mean the I think it was the second episode, it had like none, and then like 2 random episodes had more, and I was just like, okay. And I was sitting there trying to think about the title and the episodes. I'm like, what about these 2 episodes made more people watch these? I don't know. I can't figure it out. So.
Well, one was the biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. Do you really think that many people understood the euphemism for that, though?
I don't know. Yeah. Our first episode only has 1 view on there. Our second, 4. So biscuit and gravy's got 11. And we got 11 views on Pointless Rambling.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, okay.
No views on Kevin as a polar bear.
Yeah. That one has more views on Spotify. On Spotify, our views are more consistent. So, but our YouTube channel is like practically brand new, so we might have to give that one a little more time.
Yeah. Yeah, we got views, but no really any no subscribers.
That's kind of the same way on Spotify too. We're getting views from quite a few, like all over the various places around. Well, in the United States anyway. Nowhere from outside the United States yet, but getting quite a few views, but not really any new followers, really. So.
Viewing our stuff, but they're not like,
yeah, people are like maybe listening to some of it and they're like, yeah, you know, they're not fully on board yet, so maybe that'll change as time goes on. Yeah,
you know what, I don't really feel like listening to these 2 idiots on a daily basis. I mean, I fully don't blame you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I always have to put myself in the audience, and I always ask, like, well, would I want to watch this or would I want to listen to this, you know, if I was somebody else? And my answer to that question for this podcast is absolutely yes. I would listen to it every second of every day.
Would you really?
Actually, I probably would because the kind of podcast I listen to are kind of weird anyway. So,
Yeah.
and so this one
I
would
mean,
just this one would fit right in with my podcast. So,
well, my wife's been using our podcast just to have something in the background when she cleans the house.
yeah. Well, one thing I would love about this podcast is the fact that it's a bit longer than most podcasts because there's so many podcasts I really like, but they're only like 40 minutes long. And I'm just like, "Ugh, I wish there were some longer ones because, when I walk to work or walk home, I need a little bit more, you know, more podcasts to listen to. And then I'm kind of like the last like 20, 30 minutes, like walking like with nothing to listen to. So, and so I like that. I would like that about this one. If I wasn't on it, I'm not going to listen to one I'm on, but if I wasn't on it, yeah, I would like that. So.
Yeah. It's always good to have longer podcasts sometimes, depending on what it is. I don't know if I could listen to like an hour and a half to 2 hours of just like podcast or like.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to listen to that unless it was just like really, really interesting political stuff. It would have to be very interesting. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Like there's some things like I respect that they're short and sweet and kind of need it to be.
Yeah.
Pointless ramblings, I guess, can last for a while.
Yeah. Anytime there's a podcast where there's not really a topic in mind, it's just like a comedy podcast. I like it when they're a little bit longer, like I said, because I feel like with no topic in mind, particularly, you can go on for quite a while. But I understand people want to, they feel like keeping it short is better. But I've looked through Reddit and I've seen people ask questions like, how long do you think podcast episodes should be? And the answer is most people, the people that love podcasts, that is. Now, of course, there's always the average listeners that just are they like to listen to some, but they're not like podcast advocates, But the people that really love them, they tend to actually prefer longer episodes. Maybe not necessarily 2 hour long episodes, but they like them a little longer. So,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I've probably got a lot of podcast listeners, like avid podcast listeners, is like that's their thing.
Yeah, like that's what they do in their spare time. They listen to podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, so. They do. They primarily do it like while they're if they have a job, they can do it. They can listen to it if they're office worker or whatever, or
right
commutes around, trips, or like my wife just cleaning the house, doing everyday chores.
Right.
Actually, my father-in-law, he can't go on a long drive on a trip without listening to something, whether it be sports or politics.
Yeah.
Like just pure long rambles of it.
Right.
Like if he listens to music, he starts to fall asleep.
Yeah. Some people can't really listen to music. Yeah, like you said, on a long trip. They prefer like a talk show or some kind of talking of some kind. So, because music, it can get like it's enjoyable, but like when you're scanning through a radio because you're kind of to the mercy of whatever's coming on, it gets a little old after a while. So,
it's also like if they say something stupid on on a podcast or a talk show or whatever, you can be like, "Hey, no, you're basically argue with your radio."
Oh yeah, I do that with podcasts. Like I'll be walking down the road, like on my way to work and stuff, and I'll be sitting there talking out loud, like to the people on the podcast. I'm like, they can't hear me, but I'm sitting there talking like I'm talking to them. So, or I'll answer a question they'll ask on there, like they're really asking one of the other podcasters, but like I'll be answering the question.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same basis for like any sports show, like anybody that watches sports on a daily basis, like football or whatever.
Yeah.
No, pass it over there. No.
It's like they can't hear you, but that's just not going to stop them from doing it. Yeah. So.
It's just it's fun to feel like you can interact with something, even if like whatever you're saying is not going to do anything about it.
Right.
Well, it's like it's like the same when I watch one of my YouTubers I watch play a horror video game, and I see something completely stupid that he's about to do, and I realize it, and I'm like, "Come on, no, you're not that stupid. No, yeah,
don't go in there. Don't go, yeah." But yeah, this has already been recorded. Yeah, they've already made this decision. Yeah. But you're still gonna yell at the screen like they can hear you. Yeah.
My favorite is when they like walk past something that they need, and you know they need it because you paid attention to the game more than they did.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's so frustrating because I know what you're needing to do, and you just passed it. You're not even looking at it.
Yeah, that's when I'm watching like gameplay videos, those are usually the most frustrating for me to watch if it's a game I'm really, really familiar with and someone's like playing, especially if it's like they're like, "Oh, I'm a noob, this is my first time," and I'll watch them play and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're doing this so horribly. That you could be doing this so way," but
Yeah, my favorite is like always when they're looking at, they look like the camera, the is right on the object they need, and you know they're looking that direction because you know, especially if you can see their face on the screen, and they're
yeah.
not looking at the camera, they're looking at the screen. So you know, like, how did you miss that? Me as the viewer, I've seen it, but I'm at the same time like, well, I'm also a gamer. I know how you can miss that.
Yeah.
Like I've walked right past shit, and I know I've looked at it, and then didn't realize I actually had noticed it until way later.
Yeah.
So I know how it happens, but but as a viewer of a gameplay, I'm like, you fucking idiots.
That's one reason why anytime I do gameplay videos on YouTube and stuff, like I refuse to play games that I'm not as familiar with. Like I only play games that I'm like really familiar because I don't want to feel like I don't want to be that person that someone's like yelling at on the screen going, "Oh, you're playing this game so horribly. You're terrible at this game." I want to make it look like I at least semi know what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, that's not me though. I don't care if it's a game that I'm just trying to learn. Like,
Yeah,
if somebody's yelling at me, I'm like, well, I don't really hear it. And I'm the
I
type of
know,
person.
but I'm one of those. I think way too much about what people think. So
Yeah,
that kicks in when I start thinking about like gameplay videos and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna play that one.
yeah. It's kind of a tough thing though for like a lot of people is what should you care about people saying about you and what you shouldn't care.
Yeah. Oh, I should be caring way, way, way less than I do, but
Yeah.
I try so hard to not, care so much, but it just, like I said, just kind of seeps through my brain. So,
Well, that comes from your the way you're raised.
yeah.
Like, I mean, there's bad things to both sides. Like, I give absolute no fucks what people think,
Yeah.
and it's come around to bite me in the ass.
Yeah. I have my moments where I just don't care. Well, within reason, I don't care anyway.
Yeah.
But those are pretty far and few between. You usually have to get me pretty upset. Usually when I'm upset is when I care less. Once I get like all bent out of shape about whatever the situation is, then I'll start to care less about what people think about me, and because I just want to express how mad I am, like blah 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 blah. Yeah. But then once I calm down, then I feel like an idiot again. So
I guess it's a good thing for me. I'm always mad.
that's your secret. You're always angry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the perfected Bruce Banner Hulk. I really am. Like, I'm happy having a good time, but I noticed one little thing.
Walking around constantly upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like that. I'm one extreme or the other, which I don't get upset nearly as easy as I used to, but because I used to have a really bad like rage problem, but we don't have to get into all that. But yeah, I'm kind of one extreme or the other. I'm usually in a pretty good mood, or I am in a horrible mood. So
No, like, it's weird for me. Like, I can be happy and enjoying my time, having a blast, but I'm still actively irritated all the time.
yeah,
So as soon as something happens that allows me to notice, oh wait, I'm actually still pissed off, you motherfucker.
yeah. It usually it takes quite a bit. I have my moments where I'll just suddenly snap because maybe someone just did that right thing that gets right under my skin. But most of the time, it usually takes a lot to get me mad. I'm kind of like a pressure cooker. You have to kind of slowly build me up, and then I'll just explode on you.
No, not me.
But yeah, like I said, I've had my moments where I'll just it'll just come out of nowhere. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, since I hit
I'll even
adulthood,
surprise myself. So,
for me, it's been like since I hit my young adulthood and up to now, there's never been a point where my fuse could start to get, start gaining length again. It's always right there at the base,
yeah.
which kind of sucks.
I don't even know how we got on this topic.
That's how everything goes. You never know really how you get on topics. You just say one thing, and then all of a sudden you're.
I know. I listened to a podcast called XYZ, and where they have a person from Gen X on there, a person from Millennial or Gen Y, whatever you want to call it, and then a Gen Zer on there, and they'll sit there and have a topic in mind, and they'll talk about it, but they, like most podcasts, they always get off topic, and then they'll always stop and ask themselves like, how did we even get on this topic? We were talking about this, and I was like, yep, that's just like I am on my podcast. That's how I am in real life. I have no idea how I always skimp up on all these side topics.
Yeah, but you never know where you're going to lead to. Like, there could be some really interesting places you just jump to for no reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes those places can make you like, nope, never want to go there again.
Yeah. Yeah. If you usually the weirder turns for me, those weird left turn topics usually always come late at night when I get like really tired, like, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
My wife calls it sleep drunk.
Yeah, I'll start talking about the weirdest crap, and and sometimes I'll even say it, and I'm like, why am I even talking about this?
Yeah, I mean, you have pulled out some weird ass topics sitting at the guard check late at night.
Yeah, but yeah, like when we used to work weekends together. Yeah, I'd talk about some of the weird. That's usually when I get into confession stage. Sometimes I'll start confessing the weirdest stuff that I would never confess to somebody normally. So yeah, my whole life I've actually been like, whoa, I didn't need to know that going. Yeah. With you though, most of the time you just don't care. You're like, okay, well, you do you, whatever.
Yeah.
But most people, yeah, they get weirded out. They're like, why would you tell me that?
Yeah, I think my not give a crap also extends to. I mean, I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Live your life, which I guess is a kind of a half good thing. Again, there are some downsides and benefits to every personality, but a benefit to mine is, because I don't judge and I don't give a fuck because it's your life. You do what you want to do. People tend to open up weirdly quickly around me.
Yeah, it's because you don't like immediately just shoot them down and judge them. Yeah.
I was working at Walmart in Independence, Kansas, and I was in the garden center. And the guy just came up to me, asked me for some help, some advice, assistance. And I'm like, okay, whatever, doing my job. And I can't remember what he was looking for, and I was, talking through the different ones and all the options and stuff, and what would be the better price for his money, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, he started like talking about how this situation happened in his life. He lost this person and this and that. Like, to the point, me and this man had a hug out session.
Oh wow!
Because like, I don't even know how we got to that. I'm literally just trying to help this guy, and I guess me just being polite and helping him just made him want to just share his heartache.
Yeah. Right before you know it, you're like, you're all right, man. You'll make it through this. You're all right. Yeah. Like, I just met you, but that's cool. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm so awkward around people I don't know as well. So I have to get to know someone for me it's not so much on timing. Sometimes it's just
It's
how
personal
comfortable
person.
I feel with that person. Now the first time I meet somebody, yeah, it's always, even if if I feel comfortable around that person, I'm always going to feel uncomfortable. That's an oxymoron, but uh but sometimes like with some people, like the third or fourth time I've like talked to them, I'm already comfortable with them, and then sometimes it takes a really long time with some people, so it just varies on me. So
Yeah, you're very random.
yeah, my I can't even make sense of how my brain works, so Lord knows no one else can. If I ever went to a therapist and started talking about stuff, they'd be like, I don't even know how to piece this crap together. I'm like, yeah, I'm a little messed up. Yeah. I was born this way.
Thanks for the song stuck in my head.
Lady Gaga?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the name I should have used. I should have went Lady Gaga.
So, like for me, when it comes to that song, it's a toss up, right? It'll be either the actual Lady Gaga song
Yeah.
or the Warp Zone X-Men parody of it.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
Yeah, the Warp Zone has a X-Men parody of Born This Way.
Oh, okay.
And the best
Parody.
line of the chorus of it is, "You're a mutant, not gay. Think God made a mistake. You're an X-Man, baby. You were born this way."
Nah, I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah, I've showed you quite a bit of Warp Zone stuff. I don't know if I showed you that one.
Yeah, you usually show me those slasher ones. The one where it's like the whatever those are. It's like they're dressed up as all the slasher characters, and then they
Oh yeah, the
Slash Street
Merkin
Boys or whatever. Yeah.
did the Slash Street Boys and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are usually, but you did show me one superhero one because I remember that one because I kept commenting, going, "Why is Batman in this scenario?" Because he was like the only one from DC in there.
Something Metal Heroes or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of the guitarists is dressed as Batman, and with the lead singer is Deadpool, and
yeah,
everyone else is Marvel.
yeah. But it's like, but then Batman's there. It's like, okay,
I see a lot of pictures of Batman in like Marvel situations. I'm like, why? Why
yeah.
do
I
you have
mean,
Batman in the Marvel universe? He doesn't match.
I suppose you could squeeze them in there somehow, but it does feel a little odd. Yeah,
Well, it's because Batman's like darker than most of the
yeah.
Marvel.
When I think Marvel, I tend to think. I mean, I guess it can depend on the superhero, but I tend to think a bit lighter kind of tone to it. And when it's
Yeah,
DC, it tends to be a bit darker tone, especially with Batman. But of course, it can vary on the hero as well. Mhm.
yeah, because I mean, and also it could depend on the universe because like the Ultimate storylines, they're brutal. They got dark.
Yeah,
Like the Ultimate Spider-Man ended with him and the mutated Green Goblin killing each other in a final battle.
yeah.
And the final scene with him has got Aunt May, Mary Jane, and Gwen Stacy holding his dead body.
Excuse me. Yeah. It
Like
seems a lot
the
of superhero
Ultimate,
stories seem to be embracing that. The last several years seem to be embracing that dark and edgy kind of thing. So,
well, they're back and forth. They're really back and forth, and it makes like it's kind of a confusing thing because you think like the Thor: Love and Thunder movie, great movie in my opinion. You can have people can have your own opinion. I loved it. Fuck y'all.
never saw it, so I have no opinion. But yeah,
It was. I'm not going to spoil anything. But it was. It
I've
had
heard
a
it's
lot of
got some poor
lighthearted.
reviews, but I don't know anything about it. So, yeah.
Well, it was like cool, goofy moments, things that made you laugh your ass off,
Yeah.
or just cringe because Thor's being depressed. And then and then it becomes a little depressing, and then becomes even more depressing. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you be either comedy god or serious god? Don't give me this weird like back and forth fucking with my emotions shit. Either make me cry, make me go yeah, or make me just laugh my ass off. You can do you can do combos, you can action comedy.
Yeah.
But I don't really like depressive comedy.
Depressive comedy.
Yeah, so there's this thing with making jokes, depressive things, jokes.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't it translates pretty well with dark humor and like I'm saying a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it doesn't translate visually very well. So like if you have a scene where they're all laughing and enjoying the time, and then it's instant, and you're laughing your ass off, and then instantly it just throws you into a depressive state. I don't like that. To me, it doesn't transcribe well.
I don't know if I've ever really seen that executed all that much, but yeah, I'll have to pay attention for that.
Yeah, well, it's like you can do it in the beginning of a movie in a sense, like to set up a character's darker storyline later on. Like, he's all happy in the beginning and something happens, and now the rest of the movie he's just like the Punisher movies or stuff like that, The old, I think, early 2000s Punisher. He starts out, he's having a good time with his family and stuff. Spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen the 2000 Punisher, which if you're a Marvel fan, I hope you have.
Well, I've never seen it, but I'm not going to, so I'm fine with the spoiler. I don't know about everybody else, but
well, if you know anything about the Punisher, I mean, this ain't really much of a spoiler. But he's having a party with his family and stuff, and then this group of people comes in, and I can't remember the whole situation because it's been forever. But they end up murdering his entire family. And so it goes from this, happy moment, you're laughing with the character, and all of a sudden something bad happens. But then the rest of the movie is either at a state of relaxation where, there's not something really going on, or just action and violence and brutality.
Huh. Yeah.
So
I think stuff like that can work. You have to be careful with how you execute it, but yeah
like that executed just fine. Like you're setting up the tone for the rest of the movie.
Right.
And you're using that as a leeway to make you hate the villain. But when you go from understanding the villain, you start out understanding the villain and then goofy moments, and then you don't understand the villain all of a sudden, and then it's gotten dark and depressive, and then you understand the villain all of a sudden again, and everything's back to lightheartedness. It's too back and forth.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a little nitpicks I make. Like, when I'm actually watching a movie for the first time, I shut that part of my brain down because I'm just going to enjoy the movie.
Right. Yeah, I try my best to do that when I watch a movie or a show. Just you got to sometimes with some movies and shows you just got to shut all that off. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense, or that's stupid, or that. I'm like, you got to shut all that off. Just enjoy what you're, Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can go back to the second watch, and then you can analyze everything.
Right.
At least enjoy your first time around, unless it's your job to, analyze and criticize the film.
Yeah.
If you're doing it because it's your job, then that's all right. But if you're just one of those
different story,
just to ruin things for people,
right?
Fuck you.
Which is like 70 to 80% of the internet. Every time a new big blockbuster movie comes out, they always want to jump on the internet and start crapping all over it.
Well, when it gets crapped all over, and it only has been released one day, not even a full day yet.
Yeah, and then a bunch of people that probably would have thought the movie was okay, maybe nothing amazing, but it was okay. They just kind of like listen to what these people say, and then they just jump on board, like, oh yeah, we think it's crappy too. Yeah.
Pack mentality.
Well, on today's episode, me and Eric wanted to do our top 5 rankings on our favorite video games. and we're not talking about any specific genre or anything like that. We're talking about like just video games as a whole, which can be tricky to do. But so we thought it might be kind of fun to rank our top 5. Did you want to go first? Did you want me to go first, or?
Oh, it was your idea. You get to go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to make this quick because we'd be here all night if I talk too much about this. And when I start talking about video games, I go on too long. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose my top 5. But now I will admit my number 5 and number 4 spot was a bit tricky because the problem with me is in the past like 4 or 5 years, my opinion on my top 5, top 10 video games have just rotated around, and some got thrown out and some got new ones came along, like have just changed so much. My top 1 is still the same. Literally, my number 1 video game is still the exact same one from when I was like 17 years old. So that has not changed, and probably never will. I'll say probably, but yeah. So number 5 and number 4 spot was a bit tricky, but I finally got it worked out to where I think I figured out the ones that I want to put. So, because the ones I used to have there, like, were when I went back and played them again in the recent years, I still liked them, but they weren't quite as like, amazing as I remember them being. So I'm just like, I'm not sure if I would put these in top 5. That's a bit extreme, And but these I feel pretty comfortable with it. But of course, ask me again in 2-3 years, I may change my mind about a couple of these. But as of right now, so I'll give you my top 5, and then I'll kind of explain it. So number 5 is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I don't know if anyone's ever played this game. It originally came out for the PlayStation 2, and then of course they ported it over to like I think the Wii, and I think there was an Xbox version. I may be wrong about that.
I believe there.
Yeah.
At least now, because I don't remember there was back then.
Well, I got introduced to this game because I played the second one first, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2, and I played it at my friend John's house, and I thought it was really fun. It's essentially just a fighting game. It's a DBZ fighting, but it's all done from a kind of a 3D perspective. And so, because most fighting games traditionally back in the day, and even a lot of them, even to this day, it's usually the side viewpoint, kind of like Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct or something like that. And so, but this one does it from the perspective, like the third person's perspective of your character, where you're actually, the camera's following you around. And it's a lot of fun. I love the way the move combos work. It's kind of hard to explain all of them. You just kind of have to play it for yourself. But they're just a lot of fun, the way the combos work and stuff like that, which really elevates the gameplay. And of course, I still am to this day a pretty big DBZ fan. But back in the day, when I was a teenager, I was a really big DBZ fan. So of course, this game was very attracted to me. But then the third one finally came out, not about a year or so after I started playing the second one, and I bought it like almost immediately because it was like more characters and more places to fight and stuff like that. And I've read online like a couple months ago that apparently they're coming out with a game called Dragon Ball Z Shining Zero, I think it's called.
Shining Zero is the 4th installment of the Budokai franchise.
Yeah, it's supposed to sort of be like a spiritual sequel to the third one, kind of.
Well, technically, it's not really the 4th; it's the 4th Tenkaichi. But what a lot of people forget is actually before the Tenkaichis was the Budokais.
Yeah, which I didn't care for as much, actually.
And they led into the Budokai Tenkaichis.
Yeah.
And now we got Dragon Ball Z Sparkling Zero, which is in the same genre realm. And they're bringing some new cool features like the ability to redirect away from you beam attacks.
Yeah. Which you can do that in 3, but only really certain ones. So the weaker key blast, some of those you can deflect if you hit time your buttons right and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the strong ones you kind of have to, you either have to just get out of the way or you have to create your own blast to kind of counteract
Beam
it. So,
That's actually something people's missed for a long time is the beam clash.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
well,
you spin I think it's L3 or whatever it is. Yeah, you have to spin it around really quick.
Because in the original Tenkaichis, you could reflect key balls, but like a Kamehameha or something, you couldn't.
Right.
On this one, if you time it just right or do something, I don't know how they're actually going to do it because I don't know the mechanics behind it yet.
Yeah.
But even in the trailer, it actually shows Vegeta slapping the Kamehameha away from him, and you actually watch the Kamehameha bend.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. Updated to the Tenkaichi systems, and I'll probably have to get that one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played other DBZ fighting games, one that came before this Tenkaichi series, and then ones that come after, and none of them have just quite hit home like the Tenkaichi 2 and 3 have. There's something about those two games, they just got the formula like just right for me. And I definitely, apparently a lot of people agree because I've read about it online over the years, and a lot of people consider Tenkaichi 3 to be one of the greatest DBZ games ever made. So, and so I was like, yeah, it's definitely one of the best fighting games ever made, in my opinion. But yeah, that'd be my number 5. So do you want to do your 5?
For me, so what you want to do 5, then I do 5.
Yeah, we just do like 1 and 1. Yeah.
All right. For me, at number 5, and it's a newer game era, and that would have to be Hogwarts Legacy, actually.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to be big time, whatever. I don't care about the politics behind the creator of Harry Potter. She can go fuck off somewhere else. I'm working at Warner Brothers Game Studios themselves and what they created in this game. I mean, it's breathtaking. It's a beautiful game. The spell system's awesome. The fact that you can sit there and use a quick spell, throw out some these little, they're called chomping cabbages.
Mm-hmm.
And you can throw them out and they go out and they literally hop around and try and bite your enemies.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of in depth to it. I wish there was some more added to it. But it is the first brand new, main story Harry Potter game. And it's fully open world. We get to see more of Hogwarts than we ever had before. We got to see a lot of you get to see all of Hogsmeade, which is great to get to run through Hogsmeade. So, for Harry Potter fan, I mean, I get to nerd out a little bit on it, but and you get to see more of the Highlands. And also being able to capture and take care of magical beasts is just, because I love mythical creatures. That animals and mythical creatures are my thing. Getting to be a great caretaker for those. I mean, there's not really much I can say bad against the game, except for, I wish they added multiplayer. I wish there would be some DLC. I mean, but most people are talking about that. But overall, and actually, I guess the biggest thing I'd want for that game, though, would be not a mission that's if you're only for Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a special mission that only Hufflepuffs get to go do, and that's a mission that leads you into Azkaban, which, if you don't know, or whatever, if anybody don't know, is the maximum security prison for witches and wizards.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's where the Dementors guard, and you get to go see it. You don't get to use a Patronus charm, which kind of sucks, because I do want to use the Patronus charm on a Dementor. But the teacher that brings you there uses it, but that's only a Hufflepuff mission. I would love to be able to explore Azkaban as any house, because I'm a Slytherin. I mean, what can I say? But that would be number 5 at this point in my life.
Nice. Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that game quite a bit at work. I have not played it. I I don't really know much about the Harry Potter universe, but it probably will be a game I eventually get around to playing. So I just haven't played it yet. So I have entirely too many games on my backlog to play. So both games I own and games I haven't even bought yet. So it'll probably be a while. But I love open world games and I love RPGs and stuff like that. So
Yeah, with Hogwarts Legacy, it's good at, like with the new gen system.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through it, like on OG, because I played it first on the Xbox One S, and now I'm playing on the Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
On the Xbox One S and those gens, that gen area, there's a little like bluish little circle loading thing on the door, and then it opens up and you're into the world. You don't go into a loading screen.
Yeah.
But of course, with the upper gens, you don't even have that load. You just open the door and it's loaded the world up, the next area. It's already preloaded and almost pretty flawless to walk through.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it when games try to go out, or developers go out of their way to make things feel so much more connected in an open world game and not try to constantly throw loading screens at you. Something that Bethesda really needs to learn, because even their games today are very good, very beautiful, fun to play, but like they still can't seem to not throw loading screens at you all the time. So
yeah,
but it is what it is.
I have my little pick on because if I would just go to top 10, my number 6 would be Starfield, which is a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
And yeah, as much as I like Starfield because it's got so much replayability because you can do all kinds of shit, because you know how New Game Plus typically you restart the game with everything you had with all your stats, right?
Yep.
Well, in it, your New Game Plus is actually you entering a new universe of the multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool concept, but yeah, Bethesda loves their loading screens.
Yeah, that's something they just don't see as important as trying to get around those. They just feel like, I think they just kind of look at it as it's unimportant, just throw a loading screen, no big deal. And they're like, yeah, but you'd be surprised how many, little things like that really do make a huge difference. So, but anyway, I could ramble about that forever. So I'll just move on to my number 4. Now I didn't do this on purpose, but it's another DBZ game. It's just coincidence that it's number 4. But it's Dragon Ball Z: The Legacy of Goku 2. There might be quite a few people listening, especially if you're younger, that may not even know what the heck this game is. This is a series, but I know Eric knows. This is a series that I grew up with. The first Legacy of Goku game, I believe, was actually the first DBZ game I've ever even played, I think. I can't think of one I actually played before the first Legacy of Goku game, but I did play them in order. My sister got Legacy of Goku and the Game Boy Advance for Christmas, and I played the heck out of that game, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I still actually like that game, the first Legacy Goku game. It's really more of an adventure game than a RPG, but it's definitely got RPG elements. Like, of course, you can level up characters, and there's some decision making that you can do here and there throughout the game. But yeah, for the most part, it kind of feels more like an adventure game. But I think it's a lot of fun. That game kind of gets crapped on a lot today, but but one game that doesn't get crapped on a lot is Legacy Goku 2, which is the game I'm putting on this list. To me, 2 just kind of it balanced the formula of everything the best out of the trilogy. The third one is actually called Boo's Fury. They didn't call it Legacy Goku 3, but this one really did the formula really well. In the second one, it was just like a full on, it almost feels like you're playing a completely different game, like from the first one, because they just changed so much and improved on so much. It blew me away when I first started this game up for the first time when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And I was just like, little kid me was just like blown away. I love a lot more RPG elements in this game, which I really loved. A lot more open world, not so linear feeling like the first one. You can revisit places multiple times, and there's more stuff to do. there's not really side quests. Well, there's a couple of side quests, but there's not a whole lot of side quests. But there is a lot of side content you can do. There's collectible items and stuff like that, and those can be a lot of fun. I have literally played all the way through this game from beginning to end so many times. I honestly have no idea how many times I've played this game because I've played through it so many times. It's just like when I was a kid, it was just a blast to play, and when I picked it up and played it recently, it's still just an absolute blast to play. I just love this game. I love a lot of the quests in this game. I just think they're really, really fun. Even the non-canon story quests, like the ones that the developers just kind of made up for the game, even a lot of those quests, in my opinion, were like a lot of fun to play. I don't know what the magical ingredients were, but somehow they got the formula just right for me, and I just loved it. This is also the very first game that ever got me to be interested in being a game developer. I played games for many, many years before I played this game, before this game even existed, and making a game never crossed my mind until I finally played this game. And I saw the things that improved from the first one and stuff like that. So immediately my mind started going to work thinking, if I were to make a third game to this, I would do this, this, and this, and I would change out this part. And I started thinking more like a game developer. This was the game that kind of got me thinking like that. And now today I do actually make my own games. Now I just do it as a hobby though. I don't make money on it. but yeah, this you can kind of almost trace all that back to this game. So yeah, a lot of fun. So, and I put it, like I said, still one of my favorite video games of all time. So
yeah, I really enjoyed the Legacy of Goku's trilogy. Like, I mean, I told you about me trading my Spy Kids 3D with another kid that I met at the Ronald McDonald House.
yeah,
For one. Yeah, I played it religiously.
yeah.
But I guess my number four. So my number four, and I will go that my number four and number three are both dinosaur games. They're both survival games.
Mm-hmm.
But at number four is Path of Titans.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's the game I actively play the most nowadays, because I got a group of friends that play. But I don't know, it's just fun playing as a dinosaur and trying to survive. And it's like in most survival, you're human or something. You build up bases and you build your houses and stuff, and you have defenses. Whereas this, you're a dinosaur. Your defense is you, and whatever you can do. Like if you're a T-Rex, I mean, you're tanky, you're powerful, you're going to hunt and take on larger prey. But if you're something as one of the newer mods that came out, and then there's another reason I love the game. Any game that is all for allowing modders, whether on their PC and on their console versions, is just to me. I love mods because it just keeps the game fresh and more shit to do.
Yeah.
But it's a little dryo, and it really can't do much. But it is a fast little creature. It's a herbivore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to run around as this little thing, just zooming in between Dino's legs and trying not to get trampled. Just a fun survival game if you like dinosaurs. And I mean, it does have its competitor, but it's only on PC, and that's the Isle. Which the Isle's great looking and stuff. It's got cool mechanics, but it's not on console, so fuck it. And I'm too lazy to clean out a room to set up my gaming computer again and play the Isle.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day you'll play it and then you can actually compare it in your mind. So,
yeah.
So that was your number 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I have no comments on that game. I don't know much about it, so so I'll just move on to my number 3.
It's just the dino paleontology nerd in me, and I love survival games. So
excuse me. Jeez. Let me get another drink. All right. So my number 3. Let me make sure I'm not going to run out of time here. Yeah, I think I'm good. my number 3. Now this actually used to be at number 2 for really pretty much since I was a teenager. But finally, I played a game that knocked it out of its place and bumped it down to 3. So, but that's Kingdom Hearts 2. I got into this game again through my friend John. I went and stayed the night of his house a lot when I was a teenager, and he would tell me. Funnily enough, I actually never really saw the gameplay for it, but I don't know why he never put it in and play it, because he would play different games and I would watch him play all the time. And then there, of course, there were a lot of games we played together too. But this was a game he mostly talked about, and he kept talking about all the different, like, the aspects. He was like talking about the Final Fantasy and the Disney kind of fused together. He kept mentioning like the Organization 13 and stuff like that. Yeah. And it just sounded so interesting to me. And I was like, what is that game called again? He was like, oh, it's Kingdom Hearts 2. And I was just like, oh, okay. And he was like, well, you can borrow it if you want, because I kept mentioning that I was interested in it. I was like, yeah, let me play it. But the funny thing is the first time I played this game, I didn't care for it. I was playing the intro part with like Roxas, and I think I played about halfway through that whole little intro part of the game, and I just wasn't really a fan. I've never had played a game with that style of gameplay, like fighting mechanics, before. And it just felt weird to me because I just wasn't used to it. It's not that it's bad or anything, because now I think it's actually awesome. But at the time, it just felt really weird to me. So I just couldn't really get into that. And I thought the story just felt draggy to me. I just wasn't really understanding it. Of course, I was jumping in the second one, and the first one comes before it. And then, of course, there's chain of memories that comes in between. And I didn't play and know about any of that stuff. So I was just confused. I didn't really get it. But so I gave the game back to him and said, I was like, yeah, I couldn't get into it. But he kept talking about it all the time, and he was still talking about it. And I was just like, man, that just sounds so interesting. Maybe if I just got past the intro, I would enjoy it a lot more. And when I played it the second time, I don't know what it was, but even during the intro, something clicked the second time I played it. And I was just like loving it. Like I said, even during the Roxas moments, it was just something about it. I just really liked it. And then of course I got to the part where Sora comes, back, and then you got Goofy and Donald and stuff. And as I was playing through the game, I was just like, man, this game is just an absolute blast to play. And this is another game that I've played through from beginning to end a lot of times. I honestly don't think I could even count how many times I've played through this game. And it very quickly, probably the second or third time I played through this game, I started to realize, like, yeah, I think this might be one of my favorite video games ever, and to this day, it still remains. Like I said, for the longest time, it was right at number 2, pretty close to my number 1, almost neck and neck. But like I said, finally, like I said, many, many years later, I played a game that finally beat it out. So, but yeah, love Kingdom Hearts. And later on, of course, I went back and played the first one. And I played the Chain of Memories for the PS2. And but I still haven't played the third one yet. So,
well, also you got even further back. You got what you want. You don't want to play before you play 3, because you have 358/2 days. I think it is.
Yeah, I played 358 over 2 days.
Yeah, it was all about rock.
Yeah. Now, I've never played Birth by Sleep, but I have watched the entire game from beginning to end on YouTube. So I know what happens, but I've never actually played it. And same thing with Dream Drop Distance. I've watched the entire thing on YouTube, but I never actually played it. But I actually played 358 over 2 days. So,
yeah, because 3 really brings a lot of that back.
Yeah.
And if you know nothing about the side games, the prequel games to Kingdom Hearts,
yeah,
you're not going to know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, a lot of these, you see Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3, but there's all these bridge games, prequels, and all these things. They're all connected, and it's not just one of those things where like, just a few key points here and there. Like, no, they're important plot elements, because when I went back and played Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories, like, 2 made a lot more sense. So, and
Yeah,
of course, it's also Birth by Sleep. So,
yeah, I think you got to play it Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, then Kingdom Hearts, then Rechain of Memory, then 358/2 days, then Kingdom Hearts 2, and then you can play 3.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy how many games there are that connect this whole series. But I love it. I love the series, and I've heard some negative backlash against 3. I don't know much about it. I've heard some people had some issues with the story decision, and I've heard some people had issues. I heard they got rid of the drag forms or whatever from Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know. But and people had some issues with that. But yeah, one day I'll play it and then I'll have my own opinion. But for now, Kingdom Hearts 2, yeah.
Jay is a good person to ask about that. He is way obsessed with Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. A lot of people are, man. It's crazy how many. It's definitely a loved series. It's crazy how many YouTube channels and stuff like that are dedicated, fan websites and stuff like that are dedicated to this series. I mean, it's just got a huge following. So, but yep, that's my number 3.
It's on to my number 3. My number 3 slot, another dinosaur survival game, but it is Ark Survival Evolved.
Oh yeah,
I played it back when I had my PC and everything hooked up. I started it I think it was a week to 2 weeks after the initial alpha, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So there was hardly anything on there, but I stuck with it. And as they kept adding stuff, more dino, more creatures, and this and that, and it was just, and then of course, you get new maps, which made it great with the fact that they connected all the maps as a story. Whereas most games, you got a new map, it's just a new map, new creatures or whatever, a new environment.
Yeah.
Majority of official, because they have had some modders that made maps in that Wildcard liked, and they brought them into the game. But they're not official maps for the storyline. But you have this through of maps or the storyline, you can bring your dinos over to it and continue the story. Bring your characters you've made from the very first island, beating all the bosses and everything there, tamed all the dinos, get the greatest, best shit you can on that island, and then just march it over to the next island, which turns out each map. So in the world of Ark, you're in these space stations that is orbiting Earth. And each map is a space station. There's different space stations. There's a ton of them. And it accumulates to eventually going to Aberration map, where you face Rockwell, which is a guy you hear about a lot because they have what's called Explorer Notes. And Explorer Notes, besides just giving you an XP boost for you and your dinos if you have your dino near you,
mm-hmm.
And your whoever's in vicinity of when it's open, brings up a dossier that you can read, whether it be about certain dinos or people that actually were living on the Ark before you on each of these arcs. And so you start reading about these characters that you eventually face, one of them, Rockwell, and then you go to Earth, eventually get back to Earth, and it's just this wasteland of corruption. And it's overall, I mean, it's had its flaws, glitches and lags, and it's very freaking grindy. It has its issues, and most games, do somewhere, especially big games like that. But if you like dinosaurs and you want to survive and build bases and fight other people and their dinos, or just go into PvE, because you have 2 different servers. You have PvP servers and PvE servers.
Yeah.
And then you have dedicated servers, which are people, privately owned servers that they have up. And it's just a fun little thing to do, because No, it's a survival game. You get to tame dinos, raise them. You can breed your dinosaurs and hatch eggs and raise them from babies. Like you can start messing with their stats. Like you take these two wild dinos you captured, you find like a wild Rex at level 100. You're like, yeah, it's a high level wild Rex. I'm going to trank it, going to tame it up, and hopefully get the best level boost you can. Because when you tame a dino in there, the preferred meat, which tames it quicker, will also give it more levels when it wakes up. You get like a level bonus.
Yeah.
And then you take that dino and you breed it, and you just, through different breedings and stuff, you can get mutations, whether it be stat mutations, color mutations. I mean, what's really cool about it is if you trade an egg to someone, like you and another tribe are like making a deal about stuff, and you're like, yeah, I got a boss, what they call boss Rexes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Rex is bred to be extremely strong to take into boss battles.
Yeah.
And you toss them the egg, and they pick it up, and they take it to their base, and they hatch it. They can actually look. There has a little button you can press on their inventory thing. When you look in the dino, you can actually see its entire geno history from paternal and maternal. You can actually track back how long it took them to breed this.
Yeah.
Whether it was from one set of wild tames, or was it from this set of wild tame, these hatched eggs to this one. And what's really funny is people used to make jokes on there because you can breed as siblings. It doesn't matter the game if they were actually hatched from the same parents.
Right, right.
So people always look at their family tree that you can see and just make jokes about it. Oh, you gave me an inbred Rex. It's a blast. The community can be great. There are some extreme assholes in that community, especially on the PvP side. And then on the PvE side, you have less assholes, but they're still assholes. But they're more cunning assholes on the PvE side because you can't actually damage his base. But you can actually, what they call kiting, which is they lead a wild dino to your base.
Yeah.
And have it, and they disappear real quick, get away, so it'll start aggroing on your base, trying to tear your stuff up. Or there's another fight people do that with posts. So you can make wooden posts, metal posts, stone posts, whatever, pillars, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And what people will do is they'll start pillaring out of these certain spots to keep people from building a base too close. And one dick move they'll do is if they see a new tribe trying to build up an area, they'll start posting around them.
Oh, wow.
Being built out.
Yeah.
And getting bigger.
Right. Kind of, yeah.
Kind of like, they're trying to strangle these new groups. So, I mean, you can deal with a lot of assholes on there. But overall,
I feel like that's like that with any game you play with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, any a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
But I need to at some point when I have the extra money buy Ark Survival Evolved Ascended, which is a more advanced version. Mm-hmm. They enhanced graphics. They added new features and this and that. Like you can start taming babies straight out in the wild. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But that's my number 3 spot.
Well, I guess I'll move on to my number 2. Now, this one I'm really excited about because I just love this game so much. So, I love all games, but this one is like, I just love this game. But my number 2 is The Elder Scrolls Chapter 2, Daggerfall. This game is pretty old. It came out in the mid to late 90s when I was like 5-6 years old, I think. But I have absolutely no nostalgia for this game because I didn't actually play this game I didn't even know this game existed until like 4 years ago, and I didn't play it until probably just a few months after because it was available for free, so I just downloaded it and tried it out. But yeah, This game took a bit of, just like with Kingdom Hearts 2, this game did take a bit of time for it to grow on me. Kind of for different reasons, though. This game, because of the fact that this game is kind of old, and it's also a very ambitious game for its time. And so there's a few things about it that, like the fighting and stuff like that, and can be a bit clunky a bit. And so it took some time to get used to that. I will admit, the first time I played Daggerfall, like there were some things I just wasn't really on board with, and it was a bit of a turnoff to me in some areas. So I was kind of like playing and then not playing and then playing and then not playing. But then slowly but surely I started to really, really fall in love with this game. And I started to realize how unique this game really is, and realize that there's still games even to this day that haven't even tried to challenge this game really. So, and that's one of my favorite things about it. Pretty much all my top 5 games are games that I just don't really feel like I'm getting that same experience anywhere else. If you want to play a game like it, you kind of just have to play that game. And Daggerfall is probably the best example of that, to where, like, if you want to play a game like Daggerfall, well, you kind of just have to play Daggerfall. So for those of you who don't know like anything about Daggerfall, maybe you're not really an Elder Scrolls fan, or maybe you like Elder Scrolls, but you're more like you prefer ESO or like Skyrim or something, which those are great. I don't know anything about ESO because I never played it, but Skyrim is a great game too. I would probably put that in my top 10, but just didn't quite make my top 5. But Daggerfall is a really, really huge map. I love how enormous the map is, but it's not just the size of the map, it's also the amount of places you can go. Unlike the later Elder Scrolls games, where usually there's roughly 50, 60 to 80 cities, towns, villages, something like that, right? Somewhere around in that bracket. Depends on I think Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim all have slightly different amounts of towns, villages, and cities, but Daggerfall literally has like hundreds of thousands of towns, villages, and cities you can go to, and I'm not exaggerating. And there's like thousands and thousands of dungeons that you can explore, and the dungeons are huge, and I'm a big fan of dungeon crawling. I love going into the dungeons, and I love how Daggerfall, like some of those quests, you'll go into the dungeons and you'll literally sometimes be in there for hours. Like that one little side quest will feel just like a full-on adventure, like different things can happen there and you just never know what can happen. I just love that about the game. It's so unpredictable, and I I feel like I'm all over the place because, like I said, I'm so excited about explaining this game because I just love it so much. But yeah, Daggerfall, it's a huge game. There's literally never-ending side quests. You actually can't even 100% the game technically, and I love that about it too. You can reject side quests that you don't want to do, and which is something you can't really do in the later games. Because the later games, like if you join a faction or a guild and you don't want to do that quest, or you feel like that quest is not really in your character's personality to do that, you're kind of, not only are you kind of saying no to that quest, you're kind of saying no to the entire quest line that come after it too. But in Daggerfall, you have the option to say no as many times as you want, and they'll just offer you more quests. And I really love that about the game. And the main quest is a lot of fun too. It's like you're sort of like a private investigator that's trying to figure out what happened with this situation. But if you want to know more, you can always, of course, play for yourself. But if you do play this game, I do recommend also downloading the Unity like version. It's not hard to do. You can go on YouTube and watch a tutorial on how you take Daggerfall's like assets and then put it into the Unity version, and it looks and plays so much better. And I definitely recommend that because that's the version I play now, and it's much smoother, and the screen's not quite as choppy because you kind of hit that a split screen effect from the lagging and stuff like that with the original because the emulator is so slow. But with the Unity version, it's way faster and it looks a lot better and crisp and cleaner and much easier to move around. But yeah, that's my number 2, Daggerfall.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Elder Scrolls are a good game. Daggerfall, like, it feels like they kind of went back to trying something big like that with ESO, because ESO actually has, I think at this point, they've pretty much got all of Tamriel unlocked.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And so you get to go everywhere. There's so much shit to do there in ESO, but it's still not. It's not the same as Daggerfall because they went very old school style MMO with like WoW does and all that with the abilities But overall, it's still a game and it's multiplayer. And I always go for multiplayer access because I like playing with my friends.
Daggerfall is kind of like playing an MMO, but it's a single player game that kind of feels like a little bit like an MMO, sort of. So
yeah, like you could add a multiplayer mod to it and feel just fine.
Yeah, the original leader of Bethesda before he left because he stepped down after they started working on Morrowind, and then Todd Howard took over. But he said when he was working on Daggerfall, he actually planned not to do like online play because that was still a very new thing at the time. But he actually planned on there being like a multiplayer, like where you and your friends could also at your house could also play together and play your own. I'm not sure how all that would have worked, but he said he was actually trying to come up with a way to add more and more stuff like that, and they just kind of ran out of time, so it never got put into the game. But yeah, that was something he really wanted to do. So
yeah. All right, my number 2, I guess. It's a little weird compared to like my number 2 slot is not just one game.
Yeah.
It's a group of this, it's a series of game.
Yeah, you're cheating. I get it.
Well, it's because you can't really. I mean, I guess you could. You can nitpick and really separate them, but and it's in this still no other game feels like that until I guess now recently they've started getting more towards that style.
Yeah,
and it's Arkham series of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really pick. For me, I can't really pick which Arkham series is my favorite because I love them all.
Right, they're all just kind of like right there at that number 2 spot for you. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean it's a series of games, and like for the longest time, people were saying Arkham Origins isn't part of the storyline, but it turns out actually now it is. So it's a little weird thing, but
yeah,
it's just fighting in that was so great, and it made you feel like you were in a cool, like being Batman. And Batman's not even my favorite DC character by far.
Yeah,
but like I've always wanted people to take like that style of fighting with Batman stuff and put it more and add like other superhero games to it. Like that, it was the greatest fighting game to me when it comes to fighting, your villains and stuff because it was so creative. And of course, the open world, the little trophies you can find, the world was so lively. Like you can sit there and instead of if you don't go straight and attacking the criminals, right? And every single one of them does it. You can sit there and listen, and the criminals will actually have conversations with each other.
Yeah,
there's a whole script these criminals are having, even just though they're cannon fodder criminals, you can beat them pretty quickly.
Yeah,
but they're actually having full-on conversation that actually builds the world. So it's like hard to like really hold down this game because you're like, okay, I'm gonna go beat the Joker or whatever. In the first one, it's all about primarily the Joker.
Yeah.
And you'll sit there and you'll try to be sneaking around. All of a sudden, you'll start hearing the criminals in the insane asylum talking to each other about this stupidest of shit. And you're like, huh? So you literally will pause. Like it will make you pause just to listen. And there's not really a game really that does that. Like criminals actually having conversations and interesting dialogues that you can listen to before you take them down.
Yeah.
Because typically the enemies that come after you just sit there and like have the one line or whatever they do or the get them.
Yeah. So just saying like 2 or 3 lines repeated over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas here, one guy was talking about how the reason he joined up with the Joker and Like they start talking about how this one guy betrayed the Joker and what the Joker did to him and his family, and I'm like, God, that shit is crazy.
I was wondering if you were going to do your Joker voice.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to a superhero open world game, those are the games to me.
Yeah. I haven't played those, but I have heard nothing but good things about them. A lot of people seem to really love them. So, but like I said, I've seen gameplay of it on YouTube. It does look fun. They're kind of like action adventure, open world sandbox type games. They look really fun. But yeah, like I said, I've never played them. So.
Yeah, I just kind of wish there was more like that. Like the Spider-Man games are kind of like that in a sense. The world's very alive in the Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't feel the same 100%.
Yeah.
I guess let's move on to the big number one.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned those games kind of being a sort of a tie for you at number two, because my number one, like Daggerfall, with my number two spot, I loved it so much that I almost actually considered putting it at number one and tying it with, because it's just so neck and neck. But this game, I will admit, it's mostly, I have it at number one. Some of it is because of nostalgia. And I will admit, if I didn't have nostalgia, because Daggerfall, it's purely because I just love the game. I have no nostalgia for that game. And but this game, like if I had no nostalgia for it, I will admit I probably would put Daggerfall in front of this one, because yeah. But I still absolutely love this game, and it is Jak 3. It is the third game in the Jak and Daxter series. There's a few reasons why I love this game. Some of it has to do with the series as a whole. I love the series. If I could list out my entire top 10, the first Jak and Daxter game would have easily made it in the top 10. It just didn't quite make that top 5 spot. I consider Jak and Daxter to be the best. The first Jak and Daxter game to be the best open world platforming game, like sort of like a Mario 64-ish type game. In my opinion, Jak and Daxter is just the best of that, and no game has really in that genre has just surpassed it. And but to me, Jak 3 is I almost don't even consider Jak 3 to really be a platform game. It's really more of an action adventure game with platforming elements, because they kind of started to pull more and more away from that genre by the time the third one came out.
Yeah.
And but the third one is sort of a fusion of the first Jak and Daxter and Jak 2 kind of mixed together. They brought back some elements from the first game to make it feel a bit more adventurous, but they also kept that dark tone sandbox mission style game from Jak 2, which is awesome. And of course the guns and all that great stuff is in there, vehicles to drive and stuff. Because the series changed so much in Jak 2, and I love Jak 2, but I mostly love Jak 2 for the story. I will admit, I actually consider Jak 2's gameplay to be a bit on the weaker side for various reasons that I won't get into in this, because it has nothing to do with this ranking. But Jak 3 to me perfects that. Another reason why I consider Jak 3 to be one of my favorite games, in spite of the fact that it's part of the series, is there's actually it's very rare, but in a game where there's a bunch of missions or quests I got to do, there's usually always a pretty decent handful of them that I just don't care for that much. And that's why I like games to try to give me more and more options, like the Elder Scrolls games. You get so many options on which ones you can or don't want to do. It's like, well, guess what? You don't have to do it. And if you don't like it. But Jak 3, since it takes so much inspiration from a game like Grand Theft Auto, where it's a mission game, you kind of have to do all the missions. So it's tricky sometimes when you bump into missions where you may not care for quite a few of them, or at least a decent handful of them, where you're like, oh, I hate this mission. But Jak 3, there's actually only really 2 missions that I can think of that I just don't like at all. The rest of them, I either absolutely love them, or they're really good. So, and that's very, very rare for me to find a video game where I like almost every single mission in the game. So, like every time I come up to a new mission, I'm like, oh, I love this mission. Oh, I love this mission. And it's like, so it's just like, and Jak 3 to me feels so unique with the 3D platforming, jumping mixed in with the guns and stuff like that. And there's so many different guns that I've never seen in other video games before. So it's kind of the same example as those other games. Like, well, when I want to play a game like Jak 3, well, I kind of have to just play Jak 3. So it makes it. So in my opinion, yeah, I consider Jak 3 the my favorite video game of all time. So.
Not a bad choice. The Jak and Dexter series it's great.
Yeah.
And like I do love in Jak 3 that they kind of give you a morality system.
Yeah.
With your angelic looking form and your demonic one.
Yeah. Yeah, they tried to balance out the darkness, not only the dark tone of the game, but of course the darkness within Jak himself. So
yeah, which is great. Not much I can say except for it's a great game. There's not a lot of other things to point out.
Yeah. Jak 3 was a game that I loved like the instant I started playing it. Like Jak 2, when I started playing it, like I loved it right away. Like I will admit the first like 5 to 6, 7 missions in Jak 2 are absolutely awesome. Fantastic. The beginning of that game is phenomenal. But it's right after that with things kind of go downhill a little bit for me with the missions. A lot of the missions in Jak 2 are kind of a hit or miss. There's some I really like and there's some I absolutely hate. And Jak 3 is not like that at all, though. I loved it from the very beginning, and the game just keeps getting better and better and better until the end of it. It's just like awesome. So.
Yeah, I guess my number one.
Here we go.
So this, yeah, just like you, your Jak and Dexter is the winner just for primarily like 2 or 3 reasons. Like one is big time nostalgia for my life.
Yeah.
2 is just the sheer amount of hours I put into it.
Yeah.
And would go back to putting into it because they kept updating the game. And 3, just the straight up customization.
Yeah.
And that's Star Wars The Old Republic online video game on PC.
Yeah.
Like, I want more of this kind of thing with Star Wars. Like, I do love, Jedi Fallen Order and stuff. And of course, Force Unleashed, great Star Wars games. But the fact that there's so many classes you can pick, there's subclasses. If you're a Jedi or a Sith, the lightsaber customizations is great. The story is phenomenal. I've loved all the DLC additives to it. And also, it introduces one of my favorite all-time characters in the Star Wars universe. Like, I'm obsessed with this character, any Star Wars character.
Yeah.
And it's Revan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Master Revan, Lord Revan, Darth Revan, whatever you want to call him. You like him as a Jedi or Sith, or when he's feeling both. I love him in general. Yeah. Revan is such a great character, and like at first they just introduced the cult of Revan in the base game, which is interesting to see. And it gets, there's so many side quests. Like the Cult of Revan is a side quest stuff you can do with them and joining them. And then eventually Revan himself appears in the game in one of the DLCs. And it's the return of Revan. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But like, I have spent so many hours in this game. Like, I wish it was one of the PC games that would eventually come to console. Just so I didn't have to fuck with my PC.
Yeah.
Good, but if I ever get a new place and I have a room to set up my PC, I'm probably going to be spending quite a few hours on that again, off and on.
Yeah.
The only downside I have to it, primarily, is it's like most MMORPG games, where after a certain point you take a XP debuff.
Oh, really?
Where after a certain point you don't gain as much XP. You lose ability. You lose 25% of your XP gain.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess
I
in a
say
way that makes sense,
25%
yeah.
because they say because when you get to that point, the game will tell you you won't get as much XP now. After this point, you can counteract it by putting an XP boost, which is only 25%. So I'm guessing counteract it, put it back to normal, 25%, you lose 25%, or you pay the monthly subscription and you don't get the debuff.
I see. Yeah.
It does have that money grab shit.
Yeah. Give us money and then you won't have the debuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Which irritates me, and that's not on the game, it's on the company that it irritates me.
Yeah.
And I'm able to separate that. Like, the company's shit about what they're trying and all the money they're wanting to get out of it.
Yeah.
But the game is still good.
Yeah.
And you always, almost every option, there's a ton of options in there, to say what your character's going to say to them or whatever. And a good chunk of them has light or dark options.
Yeah.
So you do have a morality meter, which does affect things around you. Like, your companions will like certain things, like certain actions, and your actions can cause your companions to react to you a certain way. And like, there's one companion you get with the Sith Lord side quest. You basically take a Jedi's apprentice from him.
Yeah.
Because he has a special force ability that Darth Barris, who's your Darth, but you're the apprentice of, wants to use on his side, because it was used for the Jedi. The Jedi used it. It could ruin things for Darth Barris and the rest.
Right.
And you can actually slowly corrupt her and bring her to the dark side.
Oh, wow.
And there's actually, some companions after a while, you can start having a relationship with them, and there's all kinds of dialogue. I mean, it's just amazing to do. And also, it's cool that, you can extend your, like World of Warcraft stuff, you have the abilities in your heart bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's one of the games that actually allows you to extend your heart bar to have multiple slots. So almost all your abilities will fit on your screen.
Oh, wow.
So it's right there. You can just quickly, you have your main hotbar, which is your keybinds, and then the other ones you just click on.
Yeah, I wish more games actually did stuff like that, because especially when it comes to spell casting and stuff like that, there's so many games out there that make it so inconvenient and awkward to access your spell book and all that stuff. But yeah, keep going.
So you can get these massive combo abilities out. Like, you set your main powerhouse moves in the in your keybind, and of course you support stuff. You just quickly click on use the mouse and click on it, blah blah. And
mm-hmm.
The world's great. You got different mounts you can use, and I mean, you're not just Jedi or Sith in this game,
right?
Or you can be a Republic trooper. You can be a smuggler. You can be an Imperial officer, a bounty hunter. And they're just, classified on what's on the good side and what's on the bad side.
Yeah.
And each of them have their own unique stories. Like, for the bounty hunter, their whole point in your character, the main point for him, there's other stuff that, eventually veer off for, but the original first set goal is to win the Great Hunt.
Yeah.
Which is a big old thing the bounty hunters do. Basically like a tournament thing, and I haven't finished the bounty hunter. There's a lot to do in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Of course, side quest galore. You can travel to different planets. You have your own spaceship, and they even have space battles. It's just a phenomenal MMORPG game, and it just happens to be one of my favorite, worlds is Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's set in the Old Republic, which means before the prequels, before the original trilogy and all that, back when there was a ton of Sith and a ton of Jedi constantly at war with each other. And they have some of the most phenomenal cinematics for their trailers and stuff. Like, they are fucking great. And like with the Sith, you have two different versions of the Sith, two different versions of the Jedi, two different versions of the Imperial troopers, two different versions of the Republic, and two different type of smugglers, two different types of bounty hunters, and it depends on what your weapon style will be and your abilities.
Yeah.
And each of those have their own subclasses. So it's like, okay, even though you pick Sith Inquisitor instead of the Sith Lord, the Sith Warrior. All right, now you have, there's a subclass for the Inquisitor. One's Assassin, one, I can't remember what the other one is. I think it's Sorcerer. I can't fully remember all of it. I mean, there's just a lot to it.
Yeah.
I could literally speak about hours upon hours about all the shit in this game. Like, God.
That was like the way I was with Daggerfall. I had to cut myself off, otherwise I would have gone on for hours.
Oh. I think Star Wars: The Old Republic, because I played Daggerfall.
Yeah.
Because with the Star Wars world, it's even bigger than what even Daggerfall could be.
Yeah.
And plus, they keep able to add on to it, add planets, species, and this and that, and because there's over, I think, something in the billions or trillions of species in the Star Wars universe of just sentient species.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, Star Wars, you could make practically a never-ending world out of a universe like that. There's just so many different places, people, species. It's crazy how much lore has been built up around Star Wars over all these decades. So I definitely agree with you. I'm definitely a sucker for me. Like, I love big games with huge maps, and I've seen some people online, mostly with Reddit. People on Reddit are kind of negative, but kind of complain against that, where they'll say like maps. They feel like maps should be smaller, or there should be a lot more linear based games. I was like, well, it's not like that. They always act like games like they stopped making linear games or something. I was like, well, if you like linear, I was like, if you like linear games, there's still some out there to play. It's not like they don't exist anymore.
There are tons of linear games.
Yeah. But they always, they're like, everything's an open world game now. And I was like, okay, is that a problem?
Not really, honestly. Because I've been trying to find new open world games to play. And a lot of them, they're open world in a sense of they're semi-open world.
Right. And that's what I always tell the people. I'm like, well, first of all, it depends on what you mean by open world. Because simply because the game has a open-ended map, that doesn't, not all open world games are the same. Like when I play a game like Daggerfall, it's a very, very different experience from when I play a game like Skyrim. So, or, even Morrowind or Oblivion. Because like when I play those games, it feels more like, since the map is so much more shrunk in and the towns, villages, and cities are so much closer together, it feels more like I'm exploring like sort of like an amusement park kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
It has a very amusement park kind of experience. But to Daggerfall, to me, feels like I'm actually exploring as close as you could pretty well get with a video game what a real world feels like. And to and there's other games out there too with huge maps like that definitely feel that same way. So.
Well, because like I've been looking on, just take on the Xbox store.
Yeah.
The biggest things right now, and there's so freaking many of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous how many of them. And what irritates me is that some of these worlds that are put in the style that they're doing are massive worlds that could just be opened up. People want it opened up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of anime games are just fighter games.
Yeah.
There's not a massive open world anime game where you create your own character and you play in that world.
Right.
Which would be great. There's a lot of animes that would make money off that shit. A lot of income.
There's tons of animes that would work really well with. Yeah.
One of the biggest games of, I think it was last year, Hi-Fi Rush. It's a linear game.
Yeah.
And there's also the people on second. There's what's called open world linear games.
Yeah.
There's semi-open world. There's open world linear games. Linear games are in every version of the genres. There's linear fighting games, linear open world games, linear platformers.
Yeah.
Linear just means you just go to a set stuff every time.
Right.
And there's so many of it. There's less actually true open world games than there are linear games, or hell, another thing I see a shit ton of, like the new Prince of Persia game that's coming out, which you're not even actually the Prince of Persia, you're some other dude who's gonna go save your friend.
Yeah.
It's a fucking side scroller.
Oh, is it really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a side scroller linear game.
Yeah.
And that kind of pissed me off for that. And because, Prince of Persia has always been a semi-open world game, a linear semi-open world game.
Right.
And then you got, what's another, like, there's so many games that are just becoming side scrollers. Or they're, what's that called? Where they're like Diablo's top-down view stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those that classic CRPG top-down kind of view. Yeah.
Or they're like the Sims games. You're clicking and move your characters.
Yeah.
Not really a lot, as much as people think, of true open world games where you can, your third person or first person view, and you're moving your character around, jumping over stuff. Like they were getting to the point where they were making a lot of those. Like, at one point you had the Infamous series, you had the Prototype series, you had the Arkham series. The Jackson Dexter started doing that. Of course, the GTA eventually went to that.
Yep.
And you had so many going. Most of the Harry Potter games started doing that, which they're still continuing doing that, except for like, of course, their mobile stuff.
Right.
But they were starting to do that stuff, and then it just stopped. Like Dragon Ball Z tried to start doing that. Yeah. And then they stopped until they came back recently with the next one, which is like, Kakarot.
Yeah.
Which I never played. I'm tired of the retelling of the same story over and over. I mean, I know every bit of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, GT, Super. I know these stories. I don't need to replay. When people were like, well, you like Xenoverse 2 so much. I'm like, or you're just replaying. I'm like, yes, in a sense. But you're fixing the timeline. You're not replaying the timeline. You're fixing it. That's a slight difference.
Yeah.
So I like it because even though I've seen the same thing I've seen before, in some aspects, it was me going in and fixing things that were fucked up in that timeline that it shouldn't have happened that way.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the time controller. So you can get away with it of keeping those type of games if you're like, oh well, I only want to show my storyline. Well, we know your story. We've read the mangas. We've watched the anime or the TV shows, whatever you made of it.
Yeah.
We know the stories. We want to live the story in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely agree. We're almost out of time.
All right. I guess you want to end it here, or
We can.
it's up to you.
Well, we better make our mind quick because we got 3 minutes.
Just dead silent. I guess we can go ahead and call it here.
All right.
But ran over on that. We'll end episode 8 with ranting about after.
We ended it off with a nice rant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, everyone. Well, hope you enjoy episode 8. Bye.